And let's go to music. Welcome to Fins TV. I'm your host, Fins Sammy, Fins Sponsor. As always, my co-host Steve. Welcome to a victory edition of Fins TV.
2 weeks in a row, victory. Can't believe it, man. This is great. I feel like we've been robbed, and it's not even being selfish and spoiled from last year that we had what seemed like so many victories and everything. We still have more to come, but it just feels like we've had it too few and far between this year. But it's always good. It's always better to go to bed the night after a victory, to wake up the next day. I talked to my mom. She's a Bills fan. I talked to her Monday.
Oh, man.
I know. And I was talking to her, and she's like, I don't let it really bother my mood anymore. But this is also the person who, when I text her after the Bills game, she's like, I can finally breathe again. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So in the middle of the game, in the middle of the battle, she's uneasy. But my point is, waking up victory Mondays or Tuesday last week are always better.
Absolutely. The Bills had a huge win this weekend in the battle of the refs, so it's better to have a win than having them beat the Chiefs and we losing the game. So yeah, that's something positive.
Hey,
so
they beat the Chiefs, but hey, I don't know how many people out there still celebrating the only undefeated team, the 72 Dolphins, and toasted to that Sunday evening. It was nice to do that again.
Yeah, especially for Mercury Morris, who lost Mercury Morris this year. He was so huge on that celebration. So, rest in power, Mercury. Yeah, that was what was for you. So, on this episode, we're going to talk about, the Dolphins moving up. How the media is basically saying that the Dolphins might have a chance to actually make the playoffs after all. Also, on this episode, we're going to talk about the Patriots. Drake May is playing pretty good. He's in the top 10%, the top 10 in the completion percentage. So he's playing very good. Their places are not going to be an easy out this Sunday. And we got also the keys to the game. So we're going to talk about what the Dolphins need to do on offense and defense to beat the Patriots. But let me end the music, and here we go. But we're going to start with the Dolphins beating the Raiders. Well, that winning feeling is always the Dolphins winning 2 in a row after losing to the Cardinals in that heartbreaking game, and the rest is history. But Steve, we should be feeling pretty good about the Dolphins back in the winning ways.
Sorry, I apologize. To be fair, I've been feeling positive since Tua came back because of the difference, the market difference that team is when he's on the field. Cardinals and Bills losses, they stung because we were in them. The defense just couldn't get off the field. And at times during this game, it almost seemed like they couldn't really get off the field. They kept Las Vegas in the game. I'm going to do that about 6 times during this episode, so that's one. But
I think I did too. So yeah,
they let them. They kept them in the game, and I know that I felt like I put it out into the universe when we were talking last week, and when the Raiders pulled within 5 points, and there was still enough time on the clock and everything, I sent Sammy a message and I said, yes. Oh no! And I don't know how many people out there in the Dolphins fan world had that same dread of thinking, oh my God, is this going to be a replay of the Titans coming to town in 2023? Should be an easy victory. And then we sit there and watch 17 unanswered points. What was it, in like 4 minutes of game time or something like that?
Basically, yes.
It was insane. So, but 2 weeks in a row, and not just the first time this year, because they really did it when Tua was out. The defense did a phenomenal job of bend, don't break. They're not going to let them in this. So I see that we lost Sammy, so we'll just keep on going. But one of the things that I thought was just absolutely crazy is how fast that first half went. And that was a testament to the defense bending throughout most of the first half. The Dolphins had a very long drive. Raiders had an incredibly long drive. And then the Dolphins went and did it again. I looked at the time when they said they're at the 2-minute warning, and it wasn't even in an hour of time of that. And it was just it was incredible. I think that some of the games still going at the 1 o'clock hour still had like 8 minutes of game time left, and the Dolphins went right through it. The refs seemed to keep their flags in their pockets for a lot of the time, which a lot of times I know that slows things down. But going back to the defense, that was really one of the best things for me. Brooks and Walker in the linebacking core, I really think that they did a phenomenal job. I was looking at some numbers. Brooks came in with 12 tackles. Walker wasn't too far behind him. So that's one of the bigger things that I've really noticed over the past couple of weeks is maybe it's because David Long Jr. is no longer in there hitting the wrong gap and missing tackles, but the defense is swarming. The linebackers seem to be filling those right holes, and that's giving the defensive linemen and other players enough time to get up there and do what they have to do. That was really incredible. In the defensive line in general, I know a lot of people out there were really, really upset. And I wasn't happy. And this is a shout out to Jason Sarney. This is one of a couple that I'm going to give you during this episode here. But, letting Wilkins go really hurt. And it hurt a lot of the fans. It hurt my wife. She was upset that we were letting Wilkins go. And, it's a business decision. He got paid, and he got paid bigly. So but filling that with a much, much more discounted price of Calais Campbell next to Sealer, they are a totally disruptive force in there. And we're seeing some of the lesser known name defensive tackles fill in there. And we're still not seeing, I believe, what we're going to see eventually from Chop Robinson. He's getting a lot of speed to press. I saw that he only had one tackle. People might say, oh my God, he's a bust. I'm watching him probably 50, 60% of the defensive snaps, and he is consistently getting in there, pushing pressure, forcing the quarterback to get rid of it, forcing the quarterback out of the pocket. So he may not be doing or getting the results in terms of sacks, but I'm young enough, old enough to remember Jalen Phillips being absolutely railroaded as a busted pick, and look at what he's turned into. Not saying Chop Robinson is Jalen Phillips 2.0 or anything like that, but Anthony Weaver has started to move him around, confusing the defenses a little bit, but putting him in a place from snap to snap at a different location where he's able to put pressure on the quarterbacks. And I think, let's be fair. It was the Raiders. They're not a stacked team. They are a team in disarray. Very likely will be looking for a head coach in the offseason. But their quarterback situation is not one to be envied. So ultimately, I really think that the defense did a very, very good job, and huge props again to Jalen Ramsey for, first of all, being all over the field. He is such an intelligent, cerebral player out there, and the speed of that game and doing what he's doing, absolutely, it's great. And when he sealed the game with that interception, after we had gone back down, so again, I was saying, we went down to within 5 points, and then the Jonnu Smith touchdown, and then Jalen Ramsey sealed it. It was really exciting. I've just been talking defense here, Sam. I'm glad to see you back, man.
I just lost power, but it was back. So thank you for that. You just saved.
No problem.
This game was kind of different because the expectation was like, the Raiders always play the Dolphins tough, and for a while, the Dolphins were not punting, but the Raiders kept moving the ball and kept moving the ball and kept moving the ball. You say like, the Tua fumble, and that those kinds of things are the kind of things that happen when usually the Dolphins, the snowball effect that we talked so many times. That something happens, here comes the injury. The injury, gladly didn't happen, but what's going to happen next? But the Dolphins keep moving the ball. Tua basically played a pretty good game. They find a way to move the ball, and there's an improvement on the offense. The Dolphins have not been the flashy offense, the fancy offense, but the Dolphins find a way to, even though they were not running the ball consistently between the tackles, they find a way to keep pounding and controlling the clock, and that's always good.
How many times did we punt?
No.
Exactly. It was. It's come on. Let's be real. I love the flashy touchdowns. The chicks dig the long ball. I get that about it. That's a shout out to
Yes.
your Braves from the Maddox commercial days and everything.
Glavin and Maddox, yes.
Yep. Chicks dig the long ball. But,
Absolutely.
the deep passes to Tyreek, they're sexy, they're exciting. But what it does is it doesn't give our defense a chance to rest up and puts them right back out on the field. But it also those slower drives take the wind out of the sails. They demoralize the defenses when we have a third down and long, which used to not be something that we could convert, and we're doing it at actually a very good clip right now. So I'm not going to be upset about it, and I want to talk offense once Shari joins us here in a little bit. Maybe Matt will be joining us in a little while. But the way that they are moving the ball is something that we aren't used to. And I still don't have that high level of confidence that, hey, we're going to be able to move it, we're going to move it. But when they're able to utilize different weapons, because they are playing Tyreek and Waddle differently. Jonnu's open. Achane, what a freaking weapon he's been.
Yes.
So I'm enjoying it. And one of the things I said when we were waiting for you to boot back up here is that how few drives and how fast that first half went. And that's because they had sustained drives. There weren't the injuries.
They ate the clock so well, and they kept moving the ball. They kept moving with all that play where they did not call the face mask. That changed the game. They don't call the face mask. The momentum of the game goes a whole different way.
Oh, entirely. Which maybe, and we can talk about that at some point here. When did that become a thing? Hold on, let me ask. When did that become a thing, but it didn't happen on that Sunday or Monday night game against the Vikings to finish off their undefeated season at that point?
Yes.
When it got called a safety, and that basically ended the Vikings game, and they went, got their first loss of the season.
Didn't it happen to us with the Eagles also? There was the Eagles had a face mask and didn't call the face mask.
I mean, Sam Darnold got almost dragged to the ground by his face mask, and the ref was standing right there. So, but no, I don't understand. I'm not gonna, complain when one of those calls goes our way, but it was just really interesting. I'll say it again. I've said it many times before. We're a $13-14 billion sports league.
Yes.
We should have the benefit of the booth reviews or New York calling in and saying, "Hey, the clock has stopped anyway. Call this."
That kind of play should be there. But without further ado, let's keep. Shari Holloway and Shari, welcome to Fins TV.
Hello, everybody. Great to be here.
Great to have you here. Shari, it was a very interesting game. The kind of game that the Dolphins played the Raiders tough. The Raiders played the Dolphins tough. We lost so many games, that we expected to win versus the Raiders the last couple of years, recent years, and, the Dolphins found a way to lose the game. This year, the Dolphins found a way to win the game. They keep moving the ball, they control the clock, and the Dolphins came away with a win. But I want to know your thoughts about the other games of the game against the Raiders.
Well, I want to piggyback on what Steve said because during the telecast, the announcers kept saying, this isn't the Dolphins that we want to see. This isn't the Dolphins that fans are looking for. They're not chucking the ball down the field to Tyreek Hill, not chucking the ball to Waddle. And at that moment, I looked to my husband. I said, are we winning? Yes. Is what we're doing working? Absolutely. I don't care how we get the W as long as we get the W. And obviously, like Steve said, defenses know now. They've watched it. They watched it last year. They've seen it. They know what happens when Tyreek runs down. So you know what? Let's draw a double coverage down that side. Let's send Waddle. And all of a sudden, you've got Hill in the middle wide open. You've got Achane going wide open. I am so tired of listening to people criticize because we aren't this wide open offense this year. But if it's starting to win us games, then you take what the defense will give you. And if the defense is going to give you a short pass over the middle and you're going to get the yards after the catch, I'll take it all day. And when we do see that, and we will see the deep ball to Tyreek Hill, we will see it. It's going to happen. It's not.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things on Shari's point there that really kind of grinded me was they looked at Tua's stats and his average reception or attempt and actual completion, and they're like, this isn't sustainable. This isn't a winnable formula for a game. I'm like,
It was.
I looked last week, and Tua's average yards per attempt are better than Mahomes, and I think it's not as good as Josh Allen's, but Mahomes is the model that people out there compare against here, and it doesn't make much sense. But again, I feel like I was joking back and forth with Jake Mendel on social media, saying that Ross Tucker and Jay Feely will try as much as they possibly could to will the Raiders into a victory there, and they just couldn't do it because they were just constantly pouring down on Miami and Tua and trying to lift the Raiders up.
And now that you say that, it makes more sense because I agree. It was like we were watching a home telecast for the Raiders while we were watching that game. Maybe that's why they wanted us to force the ball downfield because maybe they knew if you force it when it's not there, you're going to turn it over. You're going to make mistakes, and that brings the Raiders back in it. So who knows? And back to the point of the face mask, you know why they can't call these face masks, right? There's a certain number they can call every year, and 92% of them are allotted to Mahomes. So they have to be very careful about how many they give the rest of the league.
I love that. I love that. Steve, what I'm very curious is since Tua came back, he's playing like a different person now. The timing offense that only one read and that's it. Tua is taking some risks, he's holding on to the ball, but he's finding open receivers. I don't know your thoughts about the change in Tua's game in the last couple of weeks.
He has blown away some of my preconceived notions while still holding on to some of them. Early in the game last week, early in the game this week against the Raiders, it's almost as if he was on his heels. He was sitting back, expecting a pocket that he's never had since he's been in Miami. And it collapses on him before he has a chance to move. But something happens, and he realizes, oh, crap, I'm not going to have that happen a third or fourth or fifth time. I think that did happen the last week's game when they still won. Yes. But he all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'm going to move. Defenders are falling all over themselves, and I'm happy that he's not tucking the ball. But the defenders have that tendency to say, oh my God, quarterback has open field to run. They move in a little bit, and we all know Tua can hit a keyhole from 30 yards out, 40 yards out, and he's going to find that open receiver, and that's what happens. So, I'll touch on a little bit of it, but Jason Sarney, love the guy. He's a friend of the podcast, frequent guest that we have on here. Looking forward to having him back, by the way. He wrote an article, and we'll probably try to share the link out. I know that I've reposted it a couple times, but since Tua came back, and I'm not a huge fan, I know that I'm constantly screaming and deriding Coach McDaniel every single time he goes for it on fourth down. Sure, you and me, we are deriding the coach when this happens. But Tua is batting 1,000 right now since he's been back on fourth downs. And that's because he's not just looking into that first or second read. He's opening it up. And we've been saying this since Achane first got here last year. He has weapons. Tua has weapons, and he's realizing that, hey, Jonnu Smith is there. Achane is over there. Tyreek and Waddle are still there. So he doesn't just have to go to that first option, but that also means that defenses have to respect that, and they can't defend all of it. You can try to rush three and protect everything, but it might give Tua more time. But more often than not, they're trying to blitz in those situations, as they did with the cover zero, which Tua just absolutely destroyed them with that cover zero blitz at the end in the Jonnu Smith touchdown. And watching it live was probably like, oh my God, it's fantastic. Watching it on TV, you see Tua just tons of pressure coming, back foot chucks it up, and I just have a feeling like, oh my God, he's just throwing it up for grabs.
That's what I thought.
And then you see a wide open John who's standing out there, nobody within 15, 20 yards of him, and it was like, that was awesome.
That's when we scare the neighbors because we scream like idiots.
Oh yeah. But I mean, there's Sammy. Really, there's the difference. We saw it week 2. Well, we saw it when Tua went out halfway through the Bills game in week 2. But week 3 to the time when Tua came back, there is zero comparison. And it is crystal clear that Tua is, in my opinion, the most valuable and most important player in the 2024 Dolphins.
I agree.
Shari, I want to know your thoughts. Basically, I'll feel something on my headphones. I want to know your thoughts on basically what I said. Tua has been playing different kind of game. He's finding a way. He find that open third receiver. holding the ball a little bit too long sometimes, but he caught some hits, but he's finding the open player. That player, those plays to Waddle and Toyon Smith, he's playing like a certain different kind of way. The timing offense is going well a little bit, and he's finding the open third receiver. What are your thoughts on the way Tua's played the last couple of weeks?
I think part of it may be a conscious decision to play differently. I think part of it is adapting to the same thing we said before, which is if they're going to cover the deep route, I'm going to have to find the underneath guy. So I'm so happy that we can look at and see more than two or three names on the receptions when we're looking at the list of receptions and receivers and running backs getting reception yards, receiving yards. There it is. And I don't know if it's so much Tua making a change consciously or Tua changing to adapt to the situation he's in at the moment. So either way, I like to see adaptation. I like to see somebody who doesn't crumble under pressure. I like to see somebody who, like Steve said, a couple times in the beginning, we watched him just stand in that pocket, just waiting and no. Get out of there for multiple reasons. I don't want to see you take a hit. I don't want to see you lose yards. I don't want to see you fumble the ball. So roll out a little. I'm not asking you to become a running quarterback. Please don't become a running quarterback if we're being honest. But the fact that he is no longer doing just that first read panic, I know that was driving Steve nuts even last year, even in the success that you could see coming out of the huddle. He had his eye on Tyreek or Waddle, and that's where he was going, come hell or high water. And he didn't necessarily check down. He's super fast. Let's not be ridiculous. I mean, his release is absurd. But when he locks in, if it's not there, it was not always a great result. So it's really wonderful to see him spreading it around, you can just see him going through a progression, which is amazing. And I wish we would have had him for those games he was out because I think we'd be having a whole different discussion about this entire season. We didn't. So we can't do that. But it is a beautiful thing to see two wins strung together. We'll take the victories where we get them. And I just want to keep seeing him grow and take what they give him and make him pay.
Steve, before we go to the future segment, I want to know your thoughts on the defense. The defense has been spotty, like you said before, but they basically got the job done.
What was the last thing you said there?
I want to know your thoughts on the defense. The defense has been spotty, but they basically got the job done.
They're totally getting the job done, and let's be realistic. And I'm ruining the entire part of my feature segment here, so I'll have to get really creative. But going back to Jason's article, this season we're looking at yards per game that they've given up, 9th in the league, and total yards per game, which I'm going to have to reach him after this to see what's the difference between yards that the defense has given up and total yards allowed. I'm not sure, but 9th and then 6th for total yards allowed. Who is complaining about that? I mean, seriously, we're Dolphins fans. If you're old like us, you sirs, I'll remember Dan Marino putting up godly numbers,
54 points and losing,
only to still lose. And the other, in making opposing quarterbacks, Ken O'Brien look like an All-Pro, or situations in recent years, even under Flores as head coach, where we still had a very, very poor defense, and then so we've lived in the past decade, 2 decades of defenses that hover around 20th in the league. And that's not good enough. We have a very good defense. Do they still give up that a little bit too much? Yes, because I think maybe it's dropping into zones and they're just finding those soft little pockets. Many quarterbacks in this league, and if I just gave Tua credit for moving out of the pocket and a defender having to move up a little bit, quarterbacks in the league, they know to look for that, and we've been pieced apart by that, by a linebacker moves up a little bit, frees up a tight end or a wide receiver in that gap between the safeties and where the linebackers are, and they're able to move it. So the biggest difference that we've talked about many times here on Fins TV is the halftime adjustments. And Weaver has been an incredible breath of fresh air with how he's been able to make adjustments and use Jalen Ramsey. We heard all offseason, Jalen Ramsey's going to be a joker. He's going to be a wild card. They don't know where he's going to be. And I remember Jay Feely and Ross Tucker saying, if he's in the slot, he's going to blitz. And on that one time, he actually backed into coverage, so they proved him to be wrong. But they're using him in those types of packages where Holland used to constantly be up at the offensive line and would blitz. Ramsey is that person now, allowing the safeties to stay back and do what they need to do back there. So we're seeing things come through to fruition right now that in the past we weren't fortunate enough to see. And the defense they are a highlight for me, because when we didn't have Tua, they were really the only thing that I had to cheer for.
I think anyone will tell you that if you score 30 points in a game, you should be winning that game. And if you don't, you need to look at your defense. And I think the Bengals would like a word about that as well. I don't know what else Burrow can do. He can put up 50, they'll lose by 3. But as long as your offense is scoring, your defense has to be there to back. It's not a one-facet game. So it was really nice to see Ramsey. This was my most impressive game for him so far this year. So I loved it. I enjoyed the whole game. I really enjoyed not having to see any punts, not watching that first or second one be awful, and then the rest were great. There were none, so we didn't have to deal with that. But the defense, I like that we are scoring 30 points and winning. And if we can keep that up, then we've got both sides working together, and it's going to be a much happier locker room. It's going to be a much happier home here, and it's going to be a much happier Fins TV crew.
Always. Winning cures so many things.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's go to our feature for the week, how the Dolphins are moving up.
Let's talk about the Dolphins. Top of the AFC is getting more interesting by the second, and the wild card race is pretty popping right now. Let's talk about it. Let's take a second, though, to talk about a few teams that sort of helped their chances this morning, and that starts with the Dolphins. Miami not dead. They are thriving right now. They follow up a Monday Night Football win over the Rams last week with a truly dominant performance. Say what you want about the Raiders. Tough to get wins. They're a tough out, and they feel like they're getting back to the energy that we saw throughout training camp, of course, when they're melting in the humidity, but also just last year. Tua looks good. He feels confident. You can tell 77% of his passes completed, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns. First 3-touchdown game since October of last year. In a year, his first 3-touchdown game. We love it. A turkey just in time for Thanksgiving. It wasn't the kind of fireworks show we've seen out of this offense at times. Hard to run an offense any more efficiently than Tua and McDaniel did yesterday. Look at this. Feast your eyes. The Dolphins ran 30 plays. They ate nearly 17 minutes off the clock on their first 2 drives alone, setting the tone for a day that saw them score 34 points without a single punt. No turnovers to be found. The Raiders' defense, they literally could not get them off the field. They could not. I don't know. I'm going to be a little hyperbolic here. I don't know if I've ever seen a drive chart like this in my life. This is a beautiful drive chart, a thing of beauty. Mwah! Tommy DeVito. Mwah, 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 mwah. You want to see, I need some excitement in my life. I want to see a couple more explosive plays, quick strikes, come back if you're Miami, but it's hard to be upset with this. They're 4-6. They're so alive, though, you guys. Like, they really are. They're a game and a half back of the Broncos, who, as we know, are absolutely going to the playoffs, but they're right there for a final AFC wildcard spot. Kind of a long shot, plus 330, looking at the schedule here. They only play 2 teams currently with a winning record down the stretch. I said winning record. Winning record. If they beat the Patriots on Sunday, and I don't know if they will because the Patriots, I have no idea what to make of them. If you look at that Thanksgiving game at Green Bay, that Miami-Green Bay game gets real interesting as you're eating your turkey and getting your tryptophan in. Do they beat the Patriots? As I said, that's not a bet I would ever take.
You know who's balling still? Tua's back.
He is.
Tua's back. Dolphins are going to make the playoffs.
Put up the AFC standings, will you, please?
They're 4-6.
I agree
Miami.
with the 2 is back balling.
They're 4-6.
Okay. And this is, again, we're recording this early on a Monday, which is why I've got a coffee mug in front of me. By the way, this is a new...
Well done.
Never really would drink coffee in the afternoon, tasting it, tasting my caffeine post-show. So Texans 6-4, Broncos 6-5, Dolphins 4-6. No, man. Who are they going to catch?
They're going to catch either...
Who are they going to catch?
I'm a little worried about Baltimore. They're going to catch Denver or Baltimore.
Dude, they're 2.5 behind the Ravens right now.
Well, just give it time.
They're 2.5 behind the Ravens.
We got time. Long season. I mean, you still have the Bengals sniffing it. The Bengals season is over, which we're going to talk about in literally like 2 minutes.
Dude, they're at Green Bay, at Houston, home for San Francisco. Yeah, I don't. I mean, to just basically state they are making the playoffs.
Well, that's the idea.
I understand what the idea is, and so I will push back and say,
look, Green Bay
that's an overreaction. Tua is balling. There's no doubt about it.
They easily beat New England next week, right? And Green Bay didn't do anything on Sunday to make me think like, wow,
Lambeau Field's a different animal,
They're
pal.
world beaters.
Lambeau Field on a Thanksgiving night, different animal, different creature.
And then they have the Jets. They're going to be over 500 in 2.5 weeks.
I don't dispute any of that, but they are going to have to catch some people. I
think some people might fall back to them.
Hold on a minute.
And we know Denver has that hard stretch.
Hold on.
And, Baltimore's offense.
Let me get this up. Let me call up some standings
hit a
here.
snag against Pittsburgh.
I'm calling up some standings.
That's
here.
all.
Hold on. I'm calling up some standings
That's all I'm
here. Here's the issue.
I wish they would have had one of those. The first 2 games, Tua came back. They got beat at the buzzer both games. I wish they would have got one of those.
How about this? Denver is 2-4 in conference. That is not good for a tiebreak. Miami's 3-4 in conference.
Okay.
They do not play each other. So, yeah, that's very helpful for them.
Interesting.
And those conference numbers will get improved with them taking on teams in their division not named the Bills.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot going for this right now.
It's trending.
Tua's hot.
Cool. It's cool. And we're glad that everyone gets to see it. One thing that I know with the players in the locker room is they're not satisfied. There's a lot of things that we wish, we could have done better, especially on my end with my play, with some throws. I wish I could have had back for certain guys, but that's just the way the game goes. It's football. You learn from it, and you continue to play the game as it is.
Number 10.
This is not standings. Miami is 4-6. I don't care. They're averaging 28 a game since Tua came back. They lead conversion rate on third down, 61% since Tua came back. He's 78% completion percentage since Tua comes back. Coach and quarterback league. 4th easiest schedule remaining. They hammered the Rams, should have beaten Buffalo, hammered the Raiders. I don't care. This is not standings. This is a top 10 team right now. I wouldn't want to play them. I wouldn't mind playing them in January in cold weather, but right now I wouldn't want to play the Dolphins.
Well, after their second win in a row, the Miami Dolphins have been steadily climbing the AFC standings with a more efficient offense with Tua and an improving defense. The offense looked, dare I say, more traditional during the victory against the Raiders. The defense, sometimes inconsistent, has shown good flashes at times, making key stops when needed. As the Dolphins continue to gel and stay healthy, the Dolphins are positioning themselves as a potential spoiler to other teams, and even maybe a playoff push is attainable. Steve and Shari, that's the question. Basically, is the Dolphins playoff push sustainable? You know what I think by now. You know what I say about the definition of craziness and about having those kind of expectations. But the Dolphins found a way to win last week, and the Patriots might not be an ECL. Anytime you play a divisional opponent, it's not an ECL. But I want to know your thoughts. Starting with you, Steve. What are your thoughts? Is the playoff push sustainable?
Everybody knows that. Oh no, I'm here. Hey, be comfortable with a pause every now and then, Sammy, while I digest what it is you're saying, because I might say something that doesn't make any sense, and Matt's not. Actually, maybe I should say nonsensical things because Matt's not here to make me feel dumb for it. But it's the NFL, Sammy. It's every single team out in the league is one ACL, one broken leg, one concussion away from losing their most important player that is going to take them out. And it doesn't have to be a major hit, doesn't have to be anything huge. I mean, as a college fan, I'm a Florida Gators fan, watched our starting quarterback this year basically walking, but he just kind of bounced a couple times, maybe 3 inches underneath his feet, tore his ACL, and he was out for the rest of the season. So teams are one injury away from not being sustainable. And so the Dolphins formula, okay, let's go down a vacuum of the way they exist right now with only to gain from the pieces Bradley Chubb, And I remember looking last week, there's a couple other IR players out there that we could still pull back. We get those pieces back. That's that sustainable formula that can get you into a playoff push, into the land of you never know. Because not every time the Dolphins go into the playoffs are they going to be forced to go into Orchard Park and play in the cold in Buffalo, or to go into sub 20 negative, below 20 below temperatures in Kansas City and have that opening wild card game. You're not always going to be forced into that situation. So I don't want to say what's sustainable versus isn't, but I do believe, Sammy, that what they've done on offense is more sustainable because they're doing what everybody's been saying. Run the damn ball. Run the ball. You know why they've stopped our deep game? Because every single media person out there, everybody you see says, defense just got to drop into a cover 2 with deep safeties, and they're going to take everything away from their 2 targets.
Yes.
And Sherry, you said it earlier. Kay Adams just said it in the opening part of that piece right there that I want to see some flash. I want to see that stuff. I don't want, you know why I don't want to see it?
Hold on. I didn't say I want to see it.
No,
I said I don't. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No,
she wanted to
exactly.
see it. You said, I'm agreeing with what you're saying here.
Exactly.
That I am all in on the camp of give our defense the chance to rest, especially since they're having a tough time especially in the early parts of the game in getting off the field. Give them that 5, 6, 7 minutes of game time, which in real time is usually about 20 minutes on the field, on sidelines, to rest up, get that break, so they're not running back out on the field. So is it a sustainable thing? Concluding this, Sammy, yes, until that injury happens.
Mm-hmm. Sherry, basically that's the story. That's what I'm happy with. But I want to know your thoughts. But what Steve says is basically right. The Dolphins right now are playing a way that if the defense find a way to pick up, they might be able to do something because the offense is not that that flashy go down the field that it's not going to be sustainable during the winter, during the playoffs. It's even worse. But I want to know your thoughts.
Not only do I think it's sustainable, because I do think it's sustainable, I take issue with somebody in your vignette said that the Dolphins could play spoiler moving forward. When you are playing this well, when you're firing on all cylinders, yes, I see a record. I understand the record. Anybody who's followed this team knows why we have this record. So when you look at the pieces we put together right now, do you call a team like that a spoiler when they're ranking 9th in overall defense, when their quarterback has the highest percent? When the pieces are just in your face, coming together, gelling like that, are we a spoiler? No, I don't think we are. I think we're finally hitting the stride we should have been hitting 4 weeks ago. We're just late bloomers this year, and that doesn't mean we can't finish with a strong record, and I think it's sustainable. I saw that Adrian said, and I agree, and everyone agrees, it's with injury. We said it at the very beginning of the season. I predicted undefeated with no injuries. 2 games in, that was moot. So if we can stay healthy, it's absolutely sustainable, in my opinion.
Imagine you and Matt having the same type of prediction. I'd never see that coming. Never.
We gang up on you a lot, but
no, I appreciate it. I enjoy that part of it. But again, I like to talk about the people that you bring into the video clips here. Colin Cowherd, I seriously I can't stand him because, and frankly, whoever the guy is, I don't trust a guy who buttons the top button on a polo shirt. So whoever it is that's on the Rich Eisen show there, and he's,
he's a Patriots fan. Yeah, he does,
Well, here's the benefit that they have. The people in the media have the benefit of never having their being fact-checked or having the receipts pulled out on them. And I remember one time that when Joy Taylor was on as Colin's sidekick there, and people went in on them, and the excuse at that point was, I didn't like Miami before, but I really like him now. And people went in on him. He's like, well, I have new information. No, you just have recency bias of what it is you're doing. And that's what they've got to fill 3 hours a day of airtime. Plus, obviously, after they do their morning show, Rich is sitting there having coffee. Also, I don't trust anybody that can't have coffee in the afternoon. I mean, I've got coffee right now at 8:18 at night,
And he'll
I'm
still
gonna
fall asleep by 11. Yeah.
I'll sleep like a baby, So not everybody's built the same for that, Rich. It's okay. But they don't have that accountability to go back to them, and they have the ability to change their opinions on a whim given the recent information that comes out. So, in my other thing Colin, he can call him a top 10 team. I'm not ready to call him top 10 team just because of the record and they did lose to Buffalo. They beat Buffalo. I'd say, we've really got something going on here. And it's a 61-yard kick that they kicked up in Buffalo from a guy who missed a point after this last weekend. Of course, that's what happens. So, as Kosa said, if Miami had gotten a win versus either the Cardinals or the Bills or both, we'd be, in a much different headspace right now. I'm in a positive headspace because, again, it's a win. And we have that hope. The Jake Mendel special is Miami lives on, what is it? Oh my God, in the hunt. Miami lives in the hunt year after year after year. It's the Jeff Fisher special of 500 right around that area. Always having the hope. But that's why we watch. We watch for hope. If we were losing every single year in and out, and we were Cleveland fans, good God, I don't know what I'd do with myself. So
we'd still watch, but we'd be unhappy.
Oh God, we'd be miserable because we're Browns fans and because we probably at some point in our lives lived in Cleveland.
Oh.
And I don't. Yeah, exactly. Oh.
I don't do cold weather. Not happening.
That's basically the difference because both the Browns and the Dolphins were recent. The last 20 years we've both been in hell. So that's not. When you're going to think about it, there's not too much difference that. But Dolphins fans usually fail to the trouble looking forward, looking at the schedule. So win, loss, win. The Dolphins had the last two games at the road against the Jets and Cleveland, cold weather games. Tua has never, I think, he's never lost to the Patriots or the Jets. They are both on the schedule. Are
they because Rich Eisen had a tough time saying the Jets as the softer opponents that were not the Bills in the AFC East that the Dolphins still have to play?
Why do you think that is?
Oh, weird, huh?
Yeah, that's recency bias, like you used to say. The Dolphins are going to be the Texans. That Thanksgiving game against the Packers. A cold weather game, late game. That's a killer. And the 49ers coming to Miami. That's going to be a tough out. But the Dolphins, if they find a way to win this Sunday, they're basically in the hunt. So I want to know your last thoughts on that. The Dolphins. I was not very good about it, but after last Sunday, the way the Dolphins, a better play calling game from McDaniel, who knows?
Well, I want to pull up the schedule. I got to see if I can find. So it just the
Patriots next, Packers after. I think the Jets after that, the 49ers, Browns and Texans, Browns and Jets. If I'm not mistaken.
So the league is really, really interesting right now in that there are a lot of teams down here that are totally out of it, or one loss, two losses, and you're entirely out of it. And at that point, you really have to start to wonder, what are they playing for? Are they playing for draft picks? It's not a great draft for quarterbacks right now. Everybody here knows that come February of next year and then March and April, we're going to see 4 quarterbacks moving up, and it's going to be the hottest topic. Whereas right now they're saying you've got Shedeur Sanders and maybe Cam Ward, and then everybody else is sometime afterward. There will be 4 quarterbacks in the first round taken. It just depends on where and by whom. But looking at that schedule, the Texans and the Texans and Packers are definitely going to be in it. 49ers aren't playing up to par, but I don't, none of these, they're not in a position where they're saying we're going to quit for draft picks.
Yep.
The Jets, the Browns, they are in quarterback we need a quarterback of the future mode. So you don't know if they're going to, in those last 2 weeks of the season, going to be saying, hey, let's be spoiler to the Dolphins' chances. Or if we are a spoiler, we're going to be shooting ourselves in the foot. And again, we're looking at this in a vacuum to say Tua's still healthy. Calais Campbell's still healthy. Teron Armstead is still healthy. So we're playing this in the mode that come week 16, 17, that we're still in it and have a chance, which I hope we do. But we just don't know. There's so many variables that you just can't count on, and certain teams that we didn't think were going to be that good. Broncos, Steelers. There's a couple teams out there that are filling up those wild card spots that I wouldn't have said back in August would have been in the running right now.
Shari, any last thoughts on the Dolphins on the move that they're moving up?
I think you have to look at trends. Obviously, with 2 wins in the last 2 weeks, we're trending up. Some people like the Ravens, maybe not so much, on maybe coming down a little bit to earth. I I think moving up is a good call, is a good description, and I think we're going to go with the trend and we're going to keep that going up the hill rather than tumbling down.
Steve, before we go to the next topic, the Aaron Rodgers factor. The Dolphins had 2 games against the Jets in the last part of the schedule, but Aaron Rodgers that kept pointing his career, he's gonna say like, I'm not feeling so well. I'm gonna, my arm hurts. I'm gonna let's fight another day. So there's a chance that maybe even the Jets might show the quarterback to the next part of the season, to the next season. So what are your thoughts? The Jets, the Tua has never lost to the Jets.
The defense is what scares me the most about that team. The offense can't seem to get out of their own way. And again, Matt, I really wish you were here because you'd be like, I don't know who we're talking about right now, because a team that doesn't have its head coach and its general manager certainly can't be a team in the NFL right now.
Absolutely not.
But Aaron Rodgers, I think, is that dichotomy of his ego is so big that I don't think he will allow himself to say, I'm not going to play right now. But also, he is going to hit that point of the cancer that he is in the locker rooms into organizations. So I don't know. I'm frankly surprised that the hits that he's taken this year, he hasn't broken down a little bit more. But I say this with the division opponents, they always play each other very, very well. And I don't take any game for granted, especially after you see the Titans game last year, what I was feared about with the Raiders game, with those games that really should be wins. So I know that the Jets are going to play us extremely tough when we're playing them. But personally, I wouldn't mind just steamrolling them both times that we play them and just send Rodgers off to an early retirement with a buyout of more millions and figure out what happens.
I never mind steamrolling the Jets, no matter what season it is.
Never.
Absolutely. So next we're gonna take on the Patriots. Well, by the time I was ending producing the show, the Dolphins Media Communications page had not put how they compare stats. So I'm going to read out of the screen. The Dolphins had the 22nd ranked offense, and the Patriots had the 31st. On defense, the Dolphins had the total 9th defense, and the Patriots down to 20th. On sacks, the Dolphins had 30, but the Patriots had 15. So that's something the Dolphins have to consider. When the Dolphins don't have O.T. Jackson anymore, and that pocket's collapsed on too many times on Tua. He's finding a way to make plays, but that pocket's collapsed. So what are your thoughts before we go to the keys to the game? The Tua has never lost to the Patriots. Hopefully, this is not the first time this Sunday, Steve.
I'm going to let Shari go first this time. What do you think, Patriots?
I think when you're looking at a Patriots team where the average fan can't name 6 people on the team on offense, I think there's always a good chance you're going to steamroll them as well. You don't know what you're going to get with them, which is a little scary, and that concerns me. Any division foe concerns me, even with a group of no-name people that I don't care about. So I always go into the division games with apprehension, with a little bit of fear, but a lot of hope. So we'll talk about keys to the game, but it's always scary, but I'm going to trust in Tua. I'm going to put my trust in Tua and say he's not going to let us down against the Patriots for the first time. So.
How are you, Steve?
Yep. No, Adrian is dead on. We have to play every single game like it's do or die. And I really do. Tua said it as your clip was going on there. People were talking about salty Tua. I'm glad that Rich didn't say those types of things. I hate that type of thing, but it seemed manufactured. It seemed kind of like it was fake before. I'm seeing a transition in who Tua is, and I believe him when he's saying that the team still isn't satisfied. They went out there, didn't punt once. They sustained, I don't know how many drives, ate up clock. Like, God, it was so incredible to see how much clock that they ate up, because we've had that happen to us in the past where our defense couldn't get them off the field. So that's really the Tua component of this. That I do believe the team is hungry. I think that those games that they were without him under center really woke them up. And then the taste that they got of the last minute losses to Arizona and Buffalo really stuck with them to say, look, we've got to change. Everybody knows, or everybody has this feeling of who the Dolphins are. A soft team, they get punched, they have a turnover, they can't recover. And we proved in Buffalo that wasn't the case and just came up at the short end of a 61-yard kick. So the game against New England, they have to carry that forward. Put together 4 more quarters. I don't care if Tua puts up, what did Kay Adams say, his first 3 touchdown game in over a year? I didn't even notice that. But personally, yeah, but I don't care and I don't care because they won. I just want him to go out there and Kosa McDaffie. That's Coach Cool to you. That's Coach Cool to our friend Todd. But I don't think his hand is being forced. I think maybe we're actually seeing a development, a maturation in McDaniel's coach calling, in his play calling, to say, you know what, it's not working. He's beat his head up against that brick wall enough times to say it's not going to give. I have to give a little bit. So why not feed the ball to them? So they just need to stick to that game plan. Go out there, run your scripted plays, and then after you're done with those, see what works, see what doesn't work. Force their hands, and I think that it's on the defense in this game to really force the quarterbacks there to make mistakes, and just come back with a W. I don't care. It's a division opponent. Rich Eisen was there talking about conference record. What would they say? We're 3-4. Keep that. Keep flipping that script. Get it into the positive range. Get us into the 500 record. Get us into a winning record. And we have the opportunities next week. We'll talk about that next, when we're on our next Fins TV podcast. But that's a really tough matchup up in Lambeau. But it's not impossible. And I think what we're seeing with this team is the grit, the in-game adjustments, and the ability to stay in the games and not get their doors blown off. That's what they have to do in New England.
I think the fact that they got called out by the Elliott last week, calling them soft, if that doesn't get you, to think about it, and the NX teammate calling you out, and it doesn't get out of you, nothing will.
No, so 100%, but this has the makings of what they would call a trap game. You rattled off their offensive and defensive stats. We've seen that many times in the past where we go in there and say, it's fun, it's party, and then and all of a sudden it's a close game and we end up losing one, and then we're back to just figuring out what we're going to do in the 2025 draft. We can't have that happen to us, not as fans.
Absolutely. So on that note, let's go to the keys to the game. Well, basically the keys to the game, if you ask me, on offense, had to be to protect Tua at all costs. The offense line at some points has been leaky. You know what I mean by leaky. Tua gets that kind of hit. I said, some pressures last week from Kendall Lamb to the outside were like, that's not sustainable. Tua he looked like Fred Astaire in that pocket. He kept moving and finding a way and finding the open receiver. So I want to know your thoughts first, Steve. What are your thoughts on that? What the Dolphins need to do on offense to win on Sunday?
On offense, run the ball. Give me short passes. I don't care what you're doing. Extend the running game with whether it's a screen or just some short dump offs. Jonnu Smith, what a weapon he's turned into for us now that they've realized, oh my God, there's a position in Miami called tight end, and we can actually throw the ball to him. It's incredible. Plus, he got more yards after catch on that one than Mike Gesicki, I think, got in his entire career at Miami. Just saying. On offense, protect Tua.
You're going to get blocked.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I can handle that. That's the only thing he'll be blocking this year. So
True.
It's the basics. It's funny seeing the Dolphins put up their tweet on Sunday morning before a game. Keys to the game. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. But run the ball, set the run. Don't give up on it. There was at a certain point in the game when I was like, why are they giving up on the run already? They came out, I think it was like the second series, and that it might have been the series that they got bailed out by that face mask, that they came out pass, and I'm like, what in the world are they doing? Stick to the run. It's going to open it up, and they're going to drop those safeties, and when they do that, then hit Tyreek deep, get everybody, get the team worked up, and then when you get the ball back again, run the damn ball again.
Absolutely. How are you, Shari? What are your thoughts? What's the keys to the keys of the game to beat the Patriots?
I'd like to see some more turnovers for plus on our side, obviously, because I would like to see them rattle. I would like to see them get in our defense to just really disrupt their game. I want to see them knocked off of their plan early because they don't appear to be a team that can recover, in my opinion. So I want to see disruption. Yes, it's going to be great to see consistency from our offense. Run the ball, find the open man. Take the short game when they give you the short game. But I think the key to this game is going to be disruption and special teams. And I'd like to see turnovers, and I'd like to see some big plays on defense. Everybody talks about all the big plays on offense that they're looking for, but I want to see our defense go in and wreak havoc. And I think that if they can do that, then we may not need 30 points to win the game. So that's what I think.
On that note, see, what are the keys of the game of the Dolphins on defense, Steve?
Exactly what Shari said, and Adrian needs to get out of my head here. Attack Drake May. He's a young quarterback. I don't think there are many quarterbacks not named Lamar, Kyler, or Patrick. They can handle pressure and keep their wits about them, their eyes downfield, and make you pay for it. And you have a young quarterback, attack him, get him off of his game, force him to make some stupid errant throws, and get those turnovers. I mean, I don't know. I should have looked it up, but stats in terms of how many turnovers, it just feels like we haven't had that many. But I mean, God, it's just keep the pressure up, but play smart. And I say that, again, Captain Obvious here myself. I have faith that Anthony Weaver is going to throw out some looks and put that type of pressure out on the Patriots, and it really just demoralize them, take the fans out of the game early, and give our offense more opportunities.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So let's go straight to the big finish. Well, to also those who are watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give us a like. To all those watching on X, a lot of good podcasters tonight on X. So to those of you who will keep watching us, we really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe on all platforms. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. This is the year where the Dolphins fandom has really come to light. A lot of great people, a lot of good people, good Dolphins Nation. Please give us a like, give us a subscribe. We love the Dolphins. We love the community. So, we appreciate every single one of you who are watching. So let's go to this week's top 5 power rankings. At number 5, the Vikings. At number 5, at number 4, the Eagles with a huge win. At number 3, the Chiefs after the loss of the Ref Bowl to the number 2 Bills. And at number 1, the Detroit Lions. Well, Steve, your mom should be very, very happy about that win against the Chiefs, but still not number one. The Lions are number one. The Lions are pretty with the passion. Dan Campbell had those Lions really fired up.
Well, as a Dolphins fan, I know what it's like to be a preseason champ. The Bills, I know that after about 20 years of absolute crap mediocrity and horrible living, they are now the regular season champs. And if it wasn't for the Bills, and the refs in many other weeks, the Chiefs would be undefeated. So we got to give them props. And again, we had a drink for that Sunday evening. But the Detroit Lions they're very impressive. They're revitalizing a city that literally they didn't have the glory of the 90s that the Bills had. They've had half a century of hell that they've lived through, and having Dan Campbell be the coach of that, Jared Goff, as vanilla as it can get in terms of a personality. You don't see him on commercials and anything, but after being highly touted out of college, first overall pick, being thrown out of LA or to Detroit for basically peanuts, and for him to have this resurgence in his career, it's very, very exciting. I'm happy for him. I'm not offended at all by the Lions, so I'm happy to see them in the number one power spot.
I'm not offended by them either. And I think anytime you can have a game where you have 5 turnovers and you still win, you're doing something else right, because you've made so many mistakes that so many other things have to be in place and have to be right to overcome that type of a deficit, that type of a game. So I'm happy for them as well.
Absolutely. Well, now let's go to the Fins TV Picking League, what's really picking up.
Ugh.
Well, the Picking League is really, really picking up. A lot of movement. Bobby Finsta at number 10, Sean Stelly Big Old Show at number 9, 7 Leaks at number 8, Tiffany at number 7, Steve at number 6, The Fit Trooper at number 5, Jason Sarney, our friend, at number 4, Lou from Day with a beat move to number 3, The A-Train at number 2, and still number 1, Bearded Fanatic.
The number one week after week after week. I think he's got an 11-game lead over me. So he could take an entire bye week off. I would still miss some picks and he would still be in the lead. And I mean, I think if you're looking at it realistically, Adrian, you got to make a run, man. Go sweep his leg. I don't know, do something.
Sweep the leg. He was a half game behind Bearded Fanatic last week. And, it's like that. Poof. He took off. So, but Adrian is in the hunt. He's really close. He's really close to.
I'm in the hunt. He is like sniffing the lead right there. So yeah.
Absolutely. So guys, I want to thank you. Hopefully, our friend Matt Armstrong, he was supposed to be here with us, but he has some work to do, and life happens. So hopefully everything's well with us. We want to thank everyone you to watch this week. Hopefully this week the Dolphins find a win again, and we have a Thanksgiving week victory show with the Dolphins having a chance to go to final.
So in quoting Major League, I had it actually written down here because I was sitting there thinking Lou Brown saying, okay, we won a game yesterday. If we win today, it's called 2 in a row. If we win again tomorrow, it's called a winning streak.
Nice.
So let's get 3 in a row here. Let's have a winning streak. And we'll have a good time for Thanksgiving week.
Absolutely. On that note, always remember when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl.
Fins up, go.
Fins up, everyone.
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe. Miami Dolphins number 1. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number 1. See you next week. Fins up.